If you know who I am, you're probably used to seeing me do this. But this costs a lot of this. And seeing as though I'm not endlessly rolling in this, that makes it hard for me to compete. For most of my life, kart racing has been my passion. I got pretty good at it, working my way up over the years and eventually making a name for myself, winning numerous regional races and championships and competing at the national level. I even got to the point where I was able to start my own racing team, which is my full-time job today. As time went on and I got older, naturally I became responsible for covering the costs of my motorsports endeavours. It didn't take long for me to discover that footing this bill is no small task. As I focused on competing at the national level in my later years of racing, I struggled to produce the results I really wanted. I was racing against the best drivers in the country, and while my results were good, they weren't great, and I wasn't at the point where I was winning. Nevertheless, I continued on for a while, as it was my passion and what made me feel the most alive. Then, in mid-2023, another sport caught my attention. I had just graduated from college and was looking for a new challenge. The astronomical expenses of karting had worn on me over the years, and I was looking for something different to work towards. It was that summer that I heard of a colleague at my former job running a 100-mile ultramarathon in the mountains of Colorado, my home state. I was fascinated by the idea of completing such a task. I asked myself, how could this be possible? How can someone keep moving for that distance? How on earth do you even train for that? Running wasn't something new to me, and I'd enjoyed recreational trail running for a while, typically sticking to distances of 5 to 10 miles in my free time. But the ultra distance seemed like such a far-reaching feat that I had no idea if I could ever make it that far, and that's precisely what drew me to it. What could be a more exciting goal than something so crazy and ambitious that I didn't know if I'd be capable of doing it? Having something to work towards is what fuels me the most, and I had a long way to climb with this task. I set myself the goal of completing a 100-mile ultramarathon in 2024, and the training began. I did my research as I decided which 100-miler to pursue, and my attention was quickly caught on the Leadville 100, a historic and iconic race in the mountains in Colorado. YouTubers who completed this race and documented it like Brian Van Duzer, Stephen Kornhaus, and Nick Baer further inspired me to choose this as my race, and my mind was set. Later that year, I entered my first 50-mile ultra on a somewhat last-minute basis, having not really had the ideal training volume for such a distance. It was the Dead Horse 50 in Moab, Utah, a week after my last kart race for quite a while, which in my mind marked a bit of a transitional period. Against the odds, the race went surprisingly well, finishing in 89th out of 213 runners in just over 10 hours. Ultimately, this race had no right to go as well as it did, and it probably should have gone significantly worse, but somehow I pulled it off and I was officially an ultramarathon runner. It hurt, and it took a few days for me to become fully mobile again, but that didn't faze me. This was a massive confidence booster for me, and I was immediately set on looking for more races. That brings us to January 2024, where we returned to Moab for my second 50-miler. This is Ultra Running in POV, which aims to share the experience of running ultramarathons throughout the country and across the world. Coming off Dead Horse just over 2 months earlier, I'd been bitten by the ultramarathon bug, and despite how much my body hurt at the end of it, I wanted to jump right into another race as soon as I could. I decided on another 50-miler in Moab called the Arches Ultra, which was put on by the same company as Dead Horse, the popular family-run Mad Moose events. Now in the dead of winter at home in Colorado, quality training time wasn't always easy to come by, but I felt I had done what I could for how harsh the weather had been. Luckily, the weather forecast for race day in Moab was looking considerably better. Having packed everything I needed, we hit the road for the 6-hour drive to Moab. Once we arrived, the first thing to do was to go to the race check-in, where we'd get our bibs. Where are you?
50-miler, folks?
Yep, 96.
96, very good. You done one of these before, man?
Yeah, I did the Dead Horse.
Very cool. Do you have your ID for me?
Yes.
Dead horse and you're back for more, huh?
Yep.
Love it, man. Make sure you grab your men's medium tea and a hat from those guys right down the way.
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome.
While I'd be running the 50-miler, my girlfriend, Grace, would be doing the 9K. Once that was complete, next on the list was to check into our hotel. Whoa. While I'd booked a basic room, January being the quiet season in Moab meant we received quite the unexpected upgrade. There's even another TV over here.
There's 2 TVs in here?
Yeah, there's one right here as well. Having enjoyed our luxurious suite, we got our things situated before heading out for a final supplies run, followed by dinner.
You have Blundstones. Like, do you like them?
Well, I'll still use them at home anyway. So, with that done, all that remained was to make my final preparations for race day tomorrow. There's a lot that goes into being fully prepared for an ultra of any distance, and I was still early in the process of fully understanding it all. This was recorded just about a year ago from time of recording, and it's clear to see that I still had a lot to learn. My standout mistake here was that I left it too late to get my nutrition, hydration, and gear sorted, which forced me to stay up later than ideal with a 4 AM wake-up time and 6 AM race start. I would just have to put up with the consequences to hopefully learn my lesson for next time.
Very good.
With preparations complete at far too late an hour, it was time to get whatever sleep I could before my second attempt at 50 miles tomorrow morning. I was feeling pretty groggy, but it was time to get in race mode and eat a solid breakfast. While some prefer to eat light when a race starts this early in the morning, I would rather start off with a full stomach. At the end, could you bring my shoes?
Yeah.
Okay. After lacing up, we set off for the short drive to the start line.
Imagine if we do a 100-miler, we'll literally have to make a Google Doc.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot more complicated. Getting to the start line 1 minute before race start wasn't quite what we had planned, but I could still at least use the excuse of being a rookie to all of this.
3, 2, 1.
Race hype was over, and we were underway. We started off on a paved path for about a mile before transitioning to some single track. As the sun rose, the expansive views around us were revealed. There's really nothing quite like a sunrise in the desert. The first 10 miles felt like they flew by, and I was feeling confident while keeping up a decent pace. opening stage of the race had passed, and the initial hit of adrenaline which comes with the start of a race was wearing off. It was at this point that my impeccable nutrition strategy was beginning to affect me, as 2 hours had passed since the start of the race and I had barely eaten anything. We transitioned onto a dirt road for a few miles before eventually reaching a brief technical section heading into the first aid station, where I'd be able to access my drop bag.
What was that?
16 miles and about 3 hours into the race, as I left the aid station I decided it was time for a gel. I'd had one about an hour earlier, which meant I'd consumed 40 out of the approximately 240 grams of carbs I should have eaten by this point in the race, but hey, it was progress. This was clearly an area where I had a lot to learn. Nevertheless, I continued onwards, and after running uphill across some slick rock, we took a turn onto another single-track trail. Now 20 miles in, the majestic Moab views did not let us down. I came into the mile 22 aid station still feeling okay, but my energy level continued to drop, a direct result of not eating enough.
Got some Coke or Sprite or anything?
No thanks.
Let's go, y'all.
Thank you.
A little bit, looking strong.
Sounds good.
50 mile, right?
Yep.
A 3.5 mile stretch on a dirt road felt more like 10 miles, as I started to feel the effect of the distance on my legs. At the end of this section would be an aid station where I'd get to see Grace, which I hoped would give me a good boost. While I had been running the 50 miler, Grace took on the 9K, which was her first trail race. After finishing successfully, she then waited for me at the Klondike aid station.
Hello. Oh, it's a little farther than it's supposed to be. This is, I think we're at 27.5 miles right now.
You okay?
The 9K.
That's good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You had fun?
Yeah, it was fun.
That's good.
That's where I was sitting waiting for you.
What time did you do it in?
An hour 18.
That's good. That's really good. See? I knew you would do good. Now that I'm looking at the bagel, I'm like, I kind of want it, but I also kind of don't because I feel like it might be too heavy.
Even if you just take a couple bites, you can have a couple bites.
That's true.
I'll take what's left of it.
Could you take it out of the package?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just definitely starting to feel it a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
I love you.
Let's do it. Finish.
Yeah.
See you later.
Bye.
I didn't leave anything else over there, right?
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
After a slightly lengthy but necessary aid station stop, I was back on the trail. Although not the hilliest course, the next section saw the biggest climb of the race, and I began to slightly lose my spirit. The 2 bites of a bagel that I'd had at the aid station were not enough to make up for the now insurmountable deficit to where I should have been nutrition-wise. Next was a descent which took us back down to the same dirt road we'd ran on before. Now just over 7 hours in, I was at mile 36 and beginning to enter what felt like the closing stages of the race. However, while the 14 remaining miles may not have looked so daunting from the outside, the effects of the previous 36 miles on my legs suggested otherwise. The farther you get into a race like this, the harder it becomes to take on another mile. We were at mile 41, and my rookie mistakes continued to make life difficult, but I pushed on. To add to my nutrition woes, I'd run into an issue with my water bladder which made it almost impossible to drink any water. I could at least rely on the odd aid station to drink some water, but it wasn't ideal. Now with about 8 miles remaining, it was clear to see who'd strategized correctly and who had thrown the race out the window. While I'd made my mistakes, I had at least managed to pace myself well enough in the early stages of the race to be able to have something left to give towards the end. As I passed some people, I began to regain my resolve. After coming through the final aid station, the end was in sight with 5 miles to go. Now back on the path we started on, there was less than a mile remaining.
Adam Ryland's from Arvada, 50-mile finisher.
You did it!
Good job, dude. I'm gonna grab your chip real quick, too.
You okay?
Yeah. That one was longer than the last one. By a little bit. No, distance-wise.
It was?
Yeah.
I took my second 50-mile finish in a time of 10 hours and 35 minutes, placing 44th out of 88 runners. I had made my mistakes, but it at least gave me plenty to learn from and improve on for the next one. It was also nice to see that the first race wasn't a fluke, and that this was something I could continue to pursue.
Feeling dead. We made it.
Made it.
Finished.
I'm glad you finished in the daytime.
Yeah. Stairs have never felt so difficult.
After a much-needed shower and some time to rest, we headed out for dinner, where I'd finally replenished the many carbs I'd been missing earlier with one of my favorite post-race meals.
It's okay. Other
I'm gonna devour this thing.
Oh my god.
Now feeling a bit more human again, it was back to the hotel for the night to begin the process of recovering.
You are no longer authorized to distribute birthday muffins. Damn it!
My second ultramarathon had left me feeling satisfied, but it was clear that I still had much to learn. The Dead Horse 50 miler 2 months prior had been an unexpected success, and I was just happy to have finished it. By comparison, this race hadn't gone poorly, but it opened my eyes to what I really had to improve on and commit to if I were to continue pursuing this to the extent that I wanted to. From my lack of nutrition, to my water bladder issues, to the slow aid station stops, to my running technique, and to plenty more, there was lots to work on. In the coming year, my focus shifted from being a kart racer to an ultramarathon runner, with a number of races on my 2024 schedule. There would be some exciting events I'd compete in, among them 2 overseas UTMB races and the famed Leadville 100. Each race would present an opportunity to grow and improve as a runner, and the training in between would challenge me. This series will document my journey through my first year of running ultramarathons, so I hope that you'll stay along for the ride.